Welcome to episode 128 of Rebirth Revolution. My name is Melissa Olson. I hope you're doing well this week. I know there's been a lot of tough news all around. We don't seem to be able to get even a short break from having big things to worry about. But we are in a marathon, not a sprint. So we have to do whatever it takes to keep our head above water as each new wave hits us. This week I want to talk about the concept of being woke. The definition of woke is that you are aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues. It is used most frequently in terms of racial and social justice. But much like CRT, the term is now a catch-all for any uncomfortable truth and those who would tell it. I realize that the use of that term has been turned into a massive insult, but the rebirth is about just such things. We are in a phase when we are tasked with making this world a more just and loving place. We are tasked with making this world more accepting of people in whatever glorious form they came to this planet. We are here to open our hearts and minds to absorb the experiences of others, using our empathy in ways that have been sorely lacking in the past. We can each see our own little corner of the sky. We know what our experience is, the one that reflects the life we were born into, but we don't know enough about other people's experiences. There's something very human about limiting the scope of our understanding and empathy to only that which approximates our own experience. But we are here to push past the limitations that have plagued us in the past. We are tasked with expanding our vision beyond our own little corner of the sky. The sky is so vast and magnificent. We are missing out on so much when we limit our vision. We are being asked to look farther into the horizon. We are being asked to take in more information and to care about people who are not exactly like us. I get why the word woke can be a bit of a joke to some. It's pretty easy to laugh at people who have ignored all the injustice that has been an integral part of our experience in this school, and then to suddenly one day wake up to see that the systems that hold us in place do not work the same for every person. It's easy to scoff at people who have been steeped in privilege, who act shocked to suddenly discover that not everyone enjoys the same privilege. We are not all having the same experience here. That has to be hard to witness when you have been trying to wake people up forever. But one of the upsides about the human experience is that once you see something, you can't unsee it. People are now seeing with their own eyes, often through online content, how brutal and unfair this life can be for many of their fellow students. We can only hope that some of these realizations stick long enough to bring about change. But change never happens at the pace one would wish. First, you have to change the hearts of people, then the minds of people, and then those people have to choose representation that reflects those changes. It's so easy to get discouraged because the change is entirely too slow. The problems with law enforcement and no-knock warrants, the likes of which cost the life of Breonna Taylor and countless others, continue. We were outraged by her death in 2020, and then the number of police shootings increased in 2021. In 2020, police killed 1,020 citizens. In 2021, they killed 1,054 citizens. It is discouraging when a problem is identified and then it continues to get worse. The fact that no one is held accountable just feeds the sense of despair. That is an issue that we still need to work on. The work will not yield immediate results, so we need to stay in the fight for the long haul. Then there's all the legislation against women and their rightful dominion over their own bodies and healthcare choices, and the attacks on LGBTQ adults and children. It certainly feels like we are moving in the wrong direction. But keep this in mind. The legal maneuvering you see does not reflect the general attitudes of the members of our society. A majority of citizens believe that women should have the right to have an abortion. A majority favor same-sex marriage. It is a smaller percentage who have a problem with these social issues, yet they scream the loudest, and they elect the people who don't bat an eye at destroying the lives of others. People are not as backwards as our current culture would have you believe, but the people who are backwards possess entirely too much power. We need all the woke people we can get if we are to achieve the goal of rebirth. While it may not seem consequential whether people identify with wokeness or not, it is interesting to note that those who oppose any attention being given to racial and social justice are also aligning with a murderous dictator. Putin has declared that being woke is destroying Western civilization, and those who oppose racial and social justice are aligning with him and supporting his invasion of Ukraine over this issue. They are saying things like, okay, maybe he invaded his neighbor, but at least he isn't woke. Being woke is somehow worse than being a murderous dictator and being responsible for the deaths of thousands of men, women, and children. Actually caring about other people is worse than murdering them. Make sense of that. It is wild to think of how violently opposed humans are to expanding their thinking, how violently they reject the notion that every person is of equal value in the eyes of the Creator. The Creator did not make souls who are worth more than other souls. All souls are of equal value. They are just at different levels of gaining that understanding and rising to the higher levels of spiritual awareness. Unfortunately, many who have not figured this out also lack any sense of humility. They unnaturally assume that they are superior to other souls due to skin color or gender or who they love, how they look, how much money they have, or whatever they consider to be a dividing line. Imagine having the audacity of thinking that you are one of the multitude of souls that has been created and you somehow are superior to many of the other souls. It lacks even a trace of humility. But humility is one of those attributes that people gain when they reach the higher levels of spiritual awareness. Not everyone is capable, at this point in time, of humility. Every week, when I say, "You are loved exactly as much as every other person on the planet, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less," I know that this can make people uncomfortable for different reasons. Some will be lifted by this statement. They do not yet imagine themselves as being loved and valued as much as everyone else. I'm happy to remind them of this truth. There are others who might see this as an insult, as it knocks them off the pedestal they imagine that they have somehow earned. They can't imagine that the Creator loves and values people they cannot yet see as valuable or lovable. But this is our task. We are here to find and increase our ability to love and value others, even those who we do not yet understand or empathize with. So why is this so hard for humans? Why do we resist growing into the space of loving everyone, no matter what? Why do we think that people need to save us from being uncomfortable? Why are we so afraid to feel challenged? What is it that we think we will lose if we decide that everyone gets to be exactly who they are here to be? Do we draw the assumption that if someone who is different is okay, then we must not be okay? Do we believe that if everyone is given the same rights and access, that we won't be able to maintain our position or status? Do we think that if children understand that all the different ways of being are okay, that they will see how limited their parents are in their thinking? Or are we fundamentally afraid that the children will be different and demand that the culture change to accommodate that? There's so many different fears, but no recognition that to embrace all different types of people will make our lives much richer. Every person and every culture contains richness and magic. Are we afraid of more richness and magic? We must always be open to all the wonders that exist in this tough school. We need to stop fighting against and start fighting for. We must all wake up. At the root of being woke is the care and concern for the experiences of people other than yourself. It is to be aware of the ways in which marginalized people have been mistreated, demonized, and damaged. There are ways, both big and small, that the wider culture has disregarded the rights and feelings of others. The wokeness culture points those things out. They point out the casual racism, misogyny, and lack of respect and justice for the marginalized. Having these occurrences pointed out to those who are not yet ready to hear them, let alone act on them, is seen as an affront. They don't want their shortcomings pointed out. They don't want to be seen as offensive people, and at the same time, they feel it is their right to be offensive people. They can't yet grasp onto the empathy that would make what they are saying and doing obviously wrong. They aren't there yet. So this makes them very angry at those in the culture who are asking them to step up. They are angry at the people who are insisting that they grow. In reality, they may not yet be capable of actually growing, so they will have to mask their racism, misogyny, etc. They don't want to do that. They had a president that told them that they could let it all hang out, and they got used to doing just that. They don't want to reel it back in and act like civilized people. We can't make them grow, but we can make them stop harming others with their hatred and ignorance. We can call them to account for what they say and do. The backlash for asking them this is that they are now enacting laws to say that teachers cannot teach any sort of true history that makes white people uncomfortable. They are telling you how uncomfortable they are with the truth and trying to create a world in which no one has to grow or behave differently. But once we, as a culture, understand how the things we say and do are received by people who are having a different life experience than we are, we can't unknow that. It changes our brains. It makes us more empathetic. It makes us more sensitive. Just try watching content that is even a few years old, and you will likely find yourself wincing. This is a very good thing, because it means that we have shifted. We have grown. We now detect the casual references that are offensive. We see the things we used to think were funny as maybe not so innocent or innocuous. We are less and less comfortable making jokes about sexual assault or racist stereotypes and the like. It is disconcerting when you start paying attention to the water that we have all been swimming in all of our lives. We didn't realize that it was all conditioning us to be less humane. But of course, this doesn't register for all people. Millions voted for a man who bragged about sexually assaulting women and who was and is openly racist. But for many people, that is just fine. Being woke is not something to lament. It is a sign that we are getting in touch with the attributes of those at the higher levels of spiritual awareness. We are increasing our empathy. We are concerned about how our actions affect others. We are welcoming the checks and balances. We are able to identify where we are wrong and course correct. All of this moves us to higher levels. Those who are furious about anything woke are stuck in the attributes of those at the lower levels of spiritual awareness. They are entitled. They are opposed to any sort of accountability. They have no empathy, and they are still clinging to their perceived status. They think that if they stop dehumanizing others and everyone is treated the same, that they may not have enough or be enough to maintain any sort of status or power in this world. They have a very real fear that the only way they can remain on top is by standing on the necks of others. They must maintain control, so dehumanizing others is their means to an end. When you understand that they are operating from a position of weakness, you can feel less anger and more sympathy for them. They don't know that they are so obviously and openly representing the lowest levels of awareness. They think they are at the top, when we know that they are just getting started on their journey from where they are now to where they will eventually grow to be. We can both find our love and compassion for those at the lowest levels while also making sure that they do not have the power to roll us backwards into the dark ages. We can find our love and compassion for them while also stopping them from doing more damage to individuals and the culture at large. We can do all of this because we are limitless. We can grow into the kind of souls who will amaze and confound them all. Thanks for returning for another week of Rebirth Revolution. I hope you are finding respite in the chaos. I hope you can find some quiet, a great book, TV show or movie that lifts you up. Go for a walk, take a bath, enjoy a nice meal. Make sure you laugh every day. And when you are doing the things that lift you up, really focus on the experience. Take in all the joy. You can always let me know how you're doing by emailing me at rebirthrev@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Rebirth Revolution can be found on all the podcast apps, the music apps, and full episodes are on YouTube and our Facebook page. Please subscribe, download, and share whenever possible. Until next week, know better, do better, take the appropriate COVID precautions as we pass the mark of 1 million deaths in this country, and appreciate how far you have come. Remember, you are loved exactly as much as every other person on the planet, not 1 ounce more or 1 ounce less. Stay strong and safe and in touch with your humanity.